Dave Palumbo here with an RxMuscle news update. The Arnold Classic 2018 in Columbus, Ohio competitor list has been released. It's actually the invitee list because the way the Arnold Classic works is that people submit their names if they want to do the show, and then the Arnold committee, whoever that may be, in the past it used to be the magazine owners and the press. I don't know who picks these people anymore. I'm certainly not involved in the selection process. I used to do it with Steve Bleckman back in the day when I was with Muscle Development. You know, you submit your votes and then they decide who they want to invite, which is great because it's a small group usually of people and you're not having, it's not like a cattle call. Although I think the classic physique, women's physique and the men's physique are still open to whoever wants to do it. And then they eliminate it down to top 5 for the finals at night. I'm not thrilled with that process, but for the other divisions, there is a invitee list, and let's go over who's going to be there because this year might be one of the best ever in the men's open. Right off the bat, we see in this lineup Dexter Jackson, who's the most winningest Arnold Classic champion of all time. He's won more than any other all throughout the world. He's won 5 in Columbus, Ohio. That's a record that I don't know if will ever be beat because I don't think anyone else can continue to compete as long as Dexter and be as dominant for that long. That's the key. So Dexter coming back to try to win number 6 in Columbus. I don't know what made him do it, but I guess he figures, what the hell, you know? I took the year off last year. Let me hit the Arnold. I've always done well there, and I'm usually the guy to beat. So Dexter Jackson in this lineup. Also, we're going to see the return of Dennis Wolf, who several years back beat Shawn Rhoden in a nail biter and established himself at that point as one of the top, 4 bodybuilders in the world. Dennis, of course, went on to have some neck injuries. He had neck surgery over 2 years ago. A lot of people thought he would never come back to the stage. He said he'd be back. He's coming back and making his comeback here at the Arnold Classic in March. So that'll be interesting to see how he looks and how his body has changed over the last couple of years. Also in this lineup, of course, Shawn Rhoden. So that'll be a nice rematch here at the Arnold for Rhoden versus Wolf, of course. Rhoden versus Dexter, okay, which also was they keep flip-flopping at the Olympia every year. Rhoden beats Dexter, Dexter beats Rhoden. So there's definitely a rivalry, a long rivalry between the two of those guys there. That should be a super bout as well. And of course, the wild card in this lineup is William Bonac, because Bonac arguably could have been second at the Olympia ahead of Big Ramy this year. A lot of people, myself included, thought that was going to be the case. It didn't happen. He wound up finishing in 3rd, but he beat Rhoden and Dexter. So if you want to pick a favorite really here, it might be William Bonac. And then, of course, how could we leave out last year or this past year's Arnold Classic champion who gave the greatest speech ever post-victory, Cedric McMillian. Now, Cedric hasn't beaten these guys at the Olympia ever, but it seems like Cedric could beat pretty much everyone at the Arnold. So will we see the best Cedric ever? Now, the only difference is Cedric did do the finish off the year with that win in San Marino. So is he burnt out? Is he just getting better? That'll be the interesting thing because you never know which Cedric you're going to get on that stage. So once again, a stacked lineup here at the Arnold. Who can win? I don't know. I'd be afraid to handicap this because you don't know who's going to show up in the best shape of their life. William Bonac seems to be the hottest guy on the circuit right now. I'd have to say that, if I was an odds maker, I would have to maybe pin him up there as the favorite. Of course, you'd be nuts to ever vote against Dexter Jackson or bet against him because he's always there when everyone else is just a little bit off, and he exploits that, and he wins these big shows, and he knows how to win. That's an important factor in here as well, knowing how to win the big show. Cedric, up until last year, just hadn't proved that he could win the big show. He pulled it off with the Arnold victory in March of this past year. And the question is, which Cedric will we see on stage? And once again, we don't know what's going to happen with Wolf. He's coming off a long layoff. Usually that usually doesn't work out too well on the first show back, but we'll have to find out how he's going to do in that lineup. Also, if you look at this lineup, we have some newcomers. Luis Rodriguez, who was shockingly good at the New York Pro this past year, finished in the 4th position, finished as high as 2nd in another pro show also later that year. So Rodriguez might be a wild card in this lineup. Of course, Steve Kuklo coming back to the stage. We haven't seen him in a while. And he's a guy with a lot of mass, a lot of size. If he brings the conditioning, he could certainly shake up that top 5 and be a spoiler in this lineup. So you don't want to count him out. Lionel Baiki, always dangerous. Whether he brings conditioning or not, it's a crapshoot at best. So if I'm a bettor, I'm not putting my money on Baiki. So, Max Charles, the terrific upper body. He's been having trouble with the legs, obviously, his whole career. His conditioning hasn't been the best we've seen, but he's still been able to manage to get back to that Olympia stage every year. So he's always dangerous as well because he's got the size to stand with these guys. Fred Biggie Smalls. Ruli Winkler. It's funny, when you don't mention Ruli Winkler, who just finished off with that Ferrigno Legacy victory, how do you leave this guy out? He's the biggest guy on stage, with the most freaky muscle of anyone up there. The reason I didn't put him into my top 4 that I just talked about only was because these top 4 were top 4 Olympians. But Ruli Winkler could come in here and win this show. Not just place top 3, he could win this show. If he's at his best, everyone else is a little off, Winkler can certainly win this show. He's good enough, he's got the freak factor, like I said, he's got the mass. It's just a matter of who's going to bring their best on contest day, and that's why it's exciting to speculate as to who might be, up there in that winner's circle come March. Healey Yamagishi deciding to forego the 212 division, going back to the open division. He was a top 10 Olympian at one point in the open division. It'll be interesting to see in this difficult lineup how he fares. I still think he might be better off going down to that 212 division, especially given the factor of how many great guys are in this lineup. In the 212, they're listing Hadi Chupin as an entrant into this event. The question has always been with Hadi, he proved that he can do the open, he proved that he can do the 212 and flex Lewis to the limit when he challenged him in Korea. However, the question is, can he beat the U.S. government and get a visa and get into this country? That might be his most difficult challenge of the year. We'll have to see if that pans out for him. Guy Ciccinino in the lineup, always dangerous. Charles Dixon, always dangerous. David Henry, the only Olympia winner in this lineup, also very dangerous. And of course, Jose Raymond, who I have to consider in my mind, especially if Hadi Chupin doesn't make it, to be my favorite for this 212 division. And of course, Sammy Trudy, who proved to be a very dangerous competitor last year in his debut. So the 212, small but deadly. We have a pro wheelchair division, of course, again, with a much deeper lineup. Harold Kelly, has to be one of the favorites, I would assume, in that lineup. He's won it before. In the Fitness International, I got to tell you, it's not going to be the same without Oksana Grishina. After retiring after the Olympia this year, I don't know. We'll have to see if any new stars emerge from that division. Let's talk about that figure division, because in figure, we love to see that top 3, as I call it, triumvirate battle it out. The Latoya Watts, the Sydney Gillen, the Candice Lewis Carter. Those 3 girls have been flip-flopping over the last 2 years. Latoya lost the Olympia this year to Sydney Gillen. She lost the Arnold last year to Candice Carter Lewis. The problem this year is that Latoya has not entered into the Arnold competition. I think she might be a little burnt out, taking the year off, probably trying to focus on that Olympia again for the end of 2018. But Sydney Gillen, our defending champion, our very young defending champion, will be in this lineup facing off against Candice Lewis, who is always, always dangerous. And you know what? On any given day, either one of those 3 girls can win. That's how good they are. Everyone else vies for 4th, 5th, 6th, because that's how good this top 3 lineup is. But you know what? We've had emerging stars every single year, so it'll be interesting to see in this lineup who might be that star in come March. And finally, in the Bikini International here at the Arnold Classic, we have another stacked lineup. We have returning Olympia champ from this past year, 2017, newly anointed Angelica Teixeira, who is the top dog now in the business. A lot of people, myself included, thought she should have won last year's event, but now she is the champ. So she is back here, and she is looking for a victory here. And, I think that coming off an Olympia win, I don't think that anyone can really touch her in this lineup. However, the lineup is tough. We have 2nd place Olympia finisher Jennifer Ronzitti, who's a surging bikini star for certain. Tremendous physique, great look. I think the judges really like her, and I think if anyone's going to challenge her, that should be the girl that does it. But look, there's another bunch of girls in this lineup that are just top-notch. Romina Basualdo, who is 3rd at the Olympia, looks tremendous. She'll be in this lineup also looking for that victory here. This is a top, title. Who doesn't want to be interviewed by Arnold after they win? I mean, not to mention the money and all the accolades you get with it. Ashley Kaltwasser coming back. She is a former Olympia champ, and she was out of the business for a couple of years, and now she's back and trying to regain the form that she had once. I really like her physique. I think she's got a great personality. Of all the people I interview, she seems to give me the most on camera. So she'll obviously have a lot of charisma on that stage and will be very dangerous, seeing that she was an Olympia champ. So the judges obviously liked her physique at one point. Let's see if she can bring that back. Also, Janet Laig, one of the most dangerous bikini girls out there. On the taller side, I happen to like her physique. I think that she is really the epitome of bikini. She kind of towers over the other girls in the sense that she brings more of an aura to the stage that your eyes just kind of get drawn to. And when she's in her best shape, it's hard to beat her. So this is no easy lineup, and not to mention, I don't want to leave out all the other girls, but the bottom line is that this is a very, very tough and deep lineup where anyone can emerge victorious. But I have to believe that Angelica Teixeira is I guess you could say, the favorite here, certainly coming off that Olympia win this year. So anyway, we got a tremendous event going down at the Arnold this year, from the open to the 212 to the fitness, which is a little sparse because of the absence of Oksana Grishina. Of course, then to the very deep figure and bikini lineups. And then, of course, the open events in the classic physique, men's physique, and women's physique lineups, that being more of an elimination round. Anyone who wants enters, as long as they get their name in, and then the top 5 go to the final. So once again, keep it locked here to RxMuscle.com for all your news updates, who's in, who's out, and what's the latest gossip with the Arnold Classic. That's the next big show coming up. We got a couple months off, but of course, we have nonstop coverage here at all times. Don't miss all the coverage. Subscribe to the RxMuscle YouTube channel. Help us get to 100,000 viewers. That's the goal. Maybe by the end of the year, I don't know, but certainly by the Arnold Classic, we will have it. I promise you that. Dave Palumbo with another RxMuscle news update.